All right, welcome to Talking Investing. I'm Tom, and as always, this is not financial advice. Today, I want to talk to you about Bitcoin and the Bitcoin miners. This is a weekly edition. We're going to go through what Bitcoin and the Bitcoin miners did last week. We have a new chart. Something new is happening, so I want to go through that. I think this is the start of a new trend. If you are new to the channel, we talk about Bitcoin and Bitcoin miners all the time on this channel, so please remember to subscribe to the channel, smash the like button, and hit the notification bell. If everybody could please help us out, we are going for 400 likes on this video. We have a streak going. I really appreciate you guys smashing the like button. It has been helping out the channel a lot. With that said, let's get to Bitcoin and the Bitcoin miners. Like I said, there's something new going on. It's going to be obvious once we get to the charts. I think it's only the beginning. Let's get going. This is the chart of the Bitcoin miners for the last week, ended on Friday. So as always, the first two things I want to point out are in gold, you're going to see Bitcoin. Bitcoin was only up 2% last week. So Bitcoin is behaving extremely well over the course of really, I think, all year. But in particular, we've had a breakout over the last 3 or 4 weeks. It's slowed down. We're consolidating a little bit. So you're going to see Bitcoin and gold up 2%. You're going to see the NASDAQ actually had a very good week, up 7%. That is in purple on this chart. Everything else in this chart is Bitcoin miners. We like to compare the miners to Bitcoin itself and to the NASDAQ because for the last 4 months, we're going to get to that chart. The trend has been that the Bitcoin miners have been following NASDAQ, which is the equity markets. Okay, so the first thing is we like what we see on this chart. There is green all over this chart. This is now the third week in a row we've got green on this chart, but unlike the other 2 weeks, in this week, you're going to see the Bitcoin miners dramatically outperformed Bitcoin. This is basically the first time in 16 weeks that this has happened. We have had several green weeks in a row, which is good news. We talked last week about the fact that we wanted to stop the negative momentum. We started to see some green weeks. Now, although the Bitcoin miners were not outperforming Bitcoin in those weeks, I felt like that was a change in the momentum. Well, this one's finally the one that we've been waiting for. At the top of this list, on a week where Bitcoin was up 2%, you have Cypher up 23%. It's worth noting Cypher is now the third largest Bitcoin miner by market cap. When we get to the new chart that I'm going to show you, you're going to see this stock has been on a tear. When we look at their year to date, this stock has performed unbelievably well. Riot was the second best performer of the week. Riot up 19%. They are the largest Bitcoin miner by market cap. So it is worth noting that the top 2 performers of the week this week are 2 of the top 3 largest Bitcoin miners by market cap. Then you'll see basically as we go down this list, I'm going to go to the other side of the list. Every single Bitcoin miner with the exception of 2 outperformed Bitcoin this week. On the flip side of this list, you're going to see 2 Bitcoin miners in red. Any, which is Sphere 3D, was down 1% while Bitcoin was up 2%. Mawson down another 5% on a week where Bitcoin was up. So you're going to start to see one of the themes we've been talking about on the channel. If you're new to the channel, we've been talking about this for quite some time. I do think there are going to be winners and losers inside of the Bitcoin miner industry. All Bitcoin miners are not created equal. All of these companies have different business models, and the market is clearly starting to decide which ones they think are going to be the winners and losers. So we'll see. Some of the charts that we're going to look at in a few minutes are going to dig a little bit deeper into that, but you're going to see these 2 Bitcoin miners were in the red on a week where most of the Bitcoin miners had an excellent week. All but 2 of the Bitcoin miners outperformed Bitcoin. This is what we expect to see out of the Bitcoin miners, and this has not happened for a period of almost 4 months. So this is a fundamental change this week. We're going to see. 1 week does not a trend make, so it's too soon to say that this is what's going to happen from now on. But last week we did talk about the fact that momentum was moving in this direction, and we were hoping this would be what would happen this week, and it did happen. So let's see if we can keep the trend going. We're going to keep our eye on this week. Okay, now this is a chart we've been looking at for the last 4 months. So this is week 16. Bitcoin is now up 15% from what was previously its high of the year back in July. In that same period of time, the NASDAQ is down 5%. So I'll reiterate what I said last week when we've been talking about on this channel for several weeks. It appears to me that Bitcoin is starting to separate itself from the equity markets Most specifically, there's been this correlation to the NASDAQ, but you can see Bitcoin's now up 15% in the time frame that the NASDAQ is down 5%. So this trend continues. I believe this will continue not only through the end of the year, but all the way through to the halving at least. So this is not financial advice. Obviously, that's my personal opinion. You guys, time will tell what happens, but this is what I'm looking at. This is what has happened so far. We'll see what comes next. For starters, Cypher is only now down 16% versus Bitcoin's up 15%. Yes, that's still a big difference behind, but all of these Bitcoin miners were down 50 or 60 or 70% in the time frame where Bitcoin was roughly down between 0 and 10%. So some of these are making big moves to catch up. If you looked at this chart about 4 or 5 weeks ago, it would have seemed like it's almost impossible to believe that any of these Bitcoin miners were going to catch up to Bitcoin. But a lot of these have made up massive ground. CleanSpark is down 36%, so that's still lagging Bitcoin quite a bit. Even RIOT Platforms, which is the largest by market cap, they're still down 40%. Marathon, which is the second largest by market cap, you're going to see they're way down here, down 48%. So a lot of these large cap companies still have an awful lot of room left to the upside if they are to catch Bitcoin. Then there are a few companies that seem to be seriously lagging and not catching up. Any, which is Sphere 3D, is down 62%. TerraWolf is down 67%. Bit Digital is down 72%. And Mawson still in last place where it's been for months now, down 73%. In the same period, in the same 4-month period where Bitcoin is up 15%. So again, I think this chart illustrates the fact that from the market's perspective, there are winners and losers here, and the market seems to be getting more clear on which ones they believe are which. So you can see there's 4 or 5 down here at the bottom that are really significantly underperforming Bitcoin. And remember, the Bitcoin miners have in the past been, and theoretically should be, a leveraged play on Bitcoin. So when Bitcoin's up 15% in a 4-month period, traditionally that would mean the Bitcoin miners were up even more. Now, there's a lot of other elements at play, one of which is the halving, which we're getting nearer and nearer to. Another is the increasing difficulty level on the network. So there's several other variables at play, but I do think we see a shift. So I'm going to show you guys a chart that this is a brand new chart. I have not done this one before. The last 3 weeks in a row, the vast majority of the Bitcoin miners have been green. Now you're going to see there's red on this chart as well. So it's not 100%. So over the last 3 weeks, Cypher is up 71%. Greenidge is up 52%. DMG Blockchain is up 50%. HUD is up 38%. Core Scientific 32%. And Digihost up 32%. I mention all those in specific because that's 6 Bitcoin miners that over the last 3 weeks have outperformed Bitcoin. So it's been a long time. It's been since the beginning of the summer, since we had a period of time where the Bitcoin miners are now starting to outperform Bitcoin. But what I'm looking for is over the next 3 to 6 weeks, are the rest of these going to catch up and pass Bitcoin? Bitcoin seems to be on the move, and I think that it's going to continue to get to higher highs for the rest of the year in 2023. The disparity between the ones at the top of this list that are performing well and the ones at the bottom of this list that are lagging behind is getting larger and larger. Okay, so quickly we'll take a look at year to date, because year to date, this is where we can really start to tell that the market has started to choose some winners and losers. The first thing I want to show you, there's 2 that are just off the charts. Core Scientific's up 859% year to date. They've been up 800 to 1,000% really since late January. They're in Chapter 11, so I'm not quite sure what's going to happen. They're going to be coming out of Chapter 11 very shortly. They say by the end of the year, so I'm not quite sure what to say about this stock. So Core Scientific notwithstanding, you're going to see Cypher. They are up 632%. That is by far better than all of the rest of the Bitcoin miners. You're going to see that is better than double the performance of the next closest Bitcoin miner, which is Bit Digital, stock ticker BTBT. So Cypher has had a major move. This has put them into 3rd place overall in market cap of all the Bitcoin mining companies. So having talked about these 2, I'm going to go to a chart that makes this a little more clear. Are there companies on here who I feel are performing very well operationally, who from a financial statement are having decent performance or good performance, but yet their stock, for whatever reason, is lagging behind their peers. I do think there's a few stocks on this list that fall into that category. So this is not financial advice. You guys need to review this list and see if you think there's any stocks that from this perspective look like maybe they're undervalued or maybe have not yet made their run. Conversely, there may be some stocks that have gotten a little bit ahead of themselves. So this is what everything looks like year to date. One last chart, we're going to take a look at the market cap of each company. Okay, so this is everybody's market cap as of Friday, November 3rd. Now, these numbers are not perfect, so please do your own due diligence. If you're going to invest in one of these companies, go take a look for yourself. Most of this information either comes from their most recent financial statements or Yahoo Finance lists market caps. You're going to see Riot is now pulling away. Riot and Marathon have been in first place all year and actually for years. These are by far the two largest market caps. Riot has put a little bit of a distance between the two of them. Riot had an exceptional week this week and Marathon lagged a little bit behind. Again, I think because they made an announcement. But the one I really want to take a look at is Cypher. So I told you they crossed a special threshold. Cypher went over $1 billion market cap this week. That is the first time they've ever been over $1 billion market cap. Cypher is significantly putting distance between themselves and the rest of all the Bitcoin miners. CleanSpark is the next closest. They're now more than $300 million, almost $400 million ahead of CleanSpark in market cap. Most of this list did stay in the same order, but Cypher had a huge jump in their market cap. So they are now significantly ahead of CleanSpark. And then there's a pretty decent fall off from CleanSpark to HUT, who's in 5th place at $523 million. It's worth noting there are 3 companies with a large amount of Bitcoin on their balance sheet, a large hodl position, and those 3 companies are Riot, Marathon, and HUT. It's no coincidence that those are 3 of the top 5 largest market caps. You're going to see there's really only 12 Bitcoin miners that have any significant market cap at all, and even really these bottom half, these are very small companies. Most of these are micro cap companies. Beyond that, we get into some nano cap companies. If you're considering investing in Bitcoin miners or if you're already invested, please be careful. Watch out for that volatility. Okay, so that's this week's look at Bitcoin and the Bitcoin miners. Thanks so much for watching. If you made it this far, please remember to smash the like button, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell so you never miss a video. Thanks again, and we will see you in the next video.